All right, so with the short video that I just showed you what France has been doing, give me your thoughts on that.
Yeah, it sounds about right as far as economic control. You know what I'm saying? All former French colonies just about are tied to the France economically. They can't take out loans. They don't have really independent economic policy, and it's all a part of tools of control. I mean, even nowadays, we explained it earlier, France is going broke because most of these African nations are nationalizing their industries. And for example, with Niger, they nationalized their uranium and aren't exporting as much to France. And I remember watching a video where it said they provide 12% of France's electronic imports from the uranium. And that's about 8 million people that are going to be affected. So, you can imagine if 8 million people have higher electricity bills, it's going to send industries into a scramble. And as much as France would like to just come up in there and reinvade and call themselves a freedom force and economic stability provider, it's not as true as they want to make it seem. Even though they may have people on their side, which they just pay off, and they're not really for the advancement of Nigerian people as a whole. It's just all tools of control.
Yeah, those are the puppets that they keep in office, and they have their Swiss bank accounts, their French bank accounts, and their properties, and their kids can go to the best schools, but meanwhile 90% of the country is living in darkness, no electricity.
Yeah, so ridiculous. I mean, shoot, it takes a lot to make a nuclear power plant, but it doesn't take a lot to just make a regular coal-fired power plant. You know what I'm saying? There's not a lack of coal in the world. Yeah. They get that from Morocco.
Yeah, and
they got massive trains going all across the length of Morocco, going to European nations and being shipped out to other nations.
Yeah, well, a lot of the infrastructure that they did put into place, it was only to take the resources out of the country.
So yeah, you see that even to this day, you can't even catch a flight between Lagos, Nigeria, and Ghana. It'd be cheaper for you to go to France, then go from Ghana to France, then from France to Nigeria. It'd be about the same price.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which fundamentally doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's like saying you could drive there if the borders weren't as far as their policies go, as far as driving across it. You should be able to just easily transfer between those two countries.
Yeah.
Because I mean, people, you got to break it down by region, like economic advancement. You can start with West Africa easily, like for example Sierra Leone and I think Ivory Coast. They provide something like 80% of all shea butter produced, and cocoa, like the chocolate, precursor to chocolate. I'd like to see America implement something like ethical consumption laws, like how, for example, with those countries, you can only trade the cocoa bean at a set price per kilogram.
Right.
That way, it incentivizes certain countries to invest in social programs, you know what I'm saying, to raise up their nation, because if that's most of what you export, that's what you got to build off of. It's easy to say because, I mean, some of these countries might be like the Bongo family from, I think, Gabon or Benin. They could just as easily be corrupt as anything else and be self-serving, which is something you got to watch out for. It's something that people can implement, you know what I'm saying?
I don't think it's going to come from the outside, and that's the importance of what's happening now.
Well, it's got to be both, because, I mean,
but
an individual country can want anything, but, I mean, as far as on the international stage, they can be easily manipulated by multiple financial levers.
Yeah, so
for example, like when Namibia was looking for an IMF loan, and Bill Gates wanted them to take on some experimental IVF, the
in vitro birth control,
yeah.
Right.
And they said if you don't take this birth control drug and implement it among your population, you're not going to get the IMF loans.
Right.
Which is so. Bill Gates, I originally thought that man had humanity's best interest at heart.
Right.
That is the most as an individual, yeah. If you want birth control, that's your individual choice. But to come to an entire nation and say, "Hey, yo, you're getting out of hand. We need your entire population to go on birth control," is the most racist, the most colonial thing I've ever heard. You ain't never heard in America somebody being like, oh yeah, there's too many Americans out there. We need to implement birth control. As a matter of fact, they're trying to do the opposite. They're trying to make sure that people can't have access to abortion or birth control in certain states.
Right.
And it just makes no sense.
Well, it does make sense in terms of a supremacist mindset, because you ever heard of eugenics?
Yeah, that's what it is.
Yes, eugenics. They're practicing to control the population because they know the largest population is going to be in Africa. The youngest population on the planet right now is in Africa.
Yeah, that's what they fear now. Because I mean, shoot. Because I mean, what I liked, me being like sort of like a colonialist myself, you know what I'm saying, outside view, looking at the several countries of Africa, if they were able to, like, country by country, merge their economic power, like Gaddafi was doing with the single African currency he was floating.
Right.
He had a good idea, but that man wasn't supporting terror attacks, so.
I can't really say that, because sometimes we only get one side of the story. I mean, we know, hold on a second, but a lot of times information is manipulated. Just like you want to deem Native Americans as savages and anybody from a different country as a terrorist. And
somebody, like we were saying earlier, somebody's hero is somebody else's terrorist. Like Winston Churchill. He's a hero to the British and a genocider to the Indians.
Exactly.
Because he let 5 million of them starve during the Bengal famine. And he didn't care, because he was like, oh yeah, it was needed because they had too many people, and he considered them, their culture and their race lesser.
Right.
And that's back to what I was saying. Is I like to see, like, you know how they have that West African Union?
Yeah.
Like, if they came up like with an EU type beat, because it's easy for like the whole African Union to be like, oh yeah, we're gonna do X, Y, and Z. It's not really that easy, because I mean, Africa is a massive place. You can fit the United States, Europe, and China in there and still have space to spare. So there's going to be massive differences among the people. As much people like to say, like, oh, it's all just Africa. No, there's billions of people worth of different, people move different.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? There's different environments, there's different climates you got to consider. There's different economic availability of the land. Like, you're not going to start a farm project in the middle of the Sahara Desert. There's going to be less economic opportunity there. But if you go region by region, as far as like the climate-wise, you know what I'm saying? Like from the tip of the Sahel region down to maybe where the rainforest starts. If you say like, hey yo, we're all going to plant a certain amount of plants, we're all going to extract a certain amount of minerals from the soil, and we're going to reinvest that in the population, you might have a better West African Union.
Well, the African Union...
Hold on. Because I have a lot of thoughts. That's what America does. That's why you don't see the Carolinas as one state, because hey yo, we got different climates, different climate availabilities, different environments that people can extract certain crops from. You know what I'm saying? Like, it varies by state, same way it varies country by country, because as you put America over like West Africa in particular, that's like several states compressed down into different countries, same land area. Ethnic makeup of America is pretty much white, black, Native American, and Asian and Hispanic. That's the major four spread across basically the entire continent's worth. Because America technically can be considered a continent in their landmass side, and essentially serves the same function. But we narrow that down to West Africa and be like, hey yo, everybody in the rainforest region, we're going to come together economically as united. You know what I'm saying? Like, if they passed a certain amount of things, like say Congo. Congo says, hey yo, once we get the boots on the ground, able to be militarily stable, every single export of cobalt and coltan is not going to go out except for a certain price.
Right.
Flat out. Things like that.
Right. That's how you control your markets, to control the trade.
Yeah,
which is what other countries and nations practice. So one of the things, the template for what you're talking about is there. That's why I had joined ADDI and what Dr. Arakana is talking about, because she is a catalyst for actually even what's taking place in Burkina Faso in terms of how Ibrahim Traore is reaching out to the diaspora and letting them know, hey, you can get dual citizenship or citizenship here, you can invest here. Like you said, nationalizing their own resources. they're making a certain portion of that available to the diaspora as well. So the African Free Continental Trade Zone is an initiative that's taking place as well, or African Continental Trade Area, which is linking all of these countries together so they can trade amongst themselves. One of the other things that Dr. Arikana speaks about is the fact that a lot of times when individual countries try to trade, it's like a lightweight and a heavyweight boxing match.
Yeah.
Similar to what you said, they have to be coordinated so they can actually have more leverage to compete on the open market. Otherwise, they'll be outmaneuvered. So some of that thought process and the template is being put into place now, but it's going to take time. Like the pyramids weren't built in a day. So this is part of the movement and the momentum that I'm invested in to move towards.
And you also got to be aware of the outside factors at play, because one thing that kills me is like when I'm online and I look at black online leftists, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I was behind Burkina Faso before they decided to ban being gay in Burkina Faso."
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, I can't support a country like that, so bye." It's like y'all are retarded. You know what I'm saying? Like, so what? You know what I'm saying? The United States didn't legalize being gay until like
recently.
Yeah, like 2008.
And they're even pushing back now. Now that's part of the anti-woke agenda, which they co-opted. They co-opted from the civil rights movement and the Black Power movement what woke means. And now they're trying to integrate everything else into it and demonize it.
And I tell you what kills me is like people have such a recent view of history. It's like 30 years ago, you couldn't do certain things you could do today.
Right.
Like the big one, gay marriage, they dated like when Obama was in office in like 2008. You couldn't get that. You couldn't get that.
Right.
In the 80s, I'm pretty sure, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure you can be arrested for being gay. And I tell you, it's like things like that. Like, don't let one temporary solution be the temporary issue be the blocker to progress.
And what you said earlier about the IMF, a lot of times they tie those loans and everything, predatory loans to begin with, but on top of that, they want you to adhere to their morality or their immorality, whichever side of the coin that you fall on. So
yeah,
that's like part of the problem as well.
And it's like that's one thing I don't like. That's the danger of people being left, liberal, whatever you want to call it. There's a whole lot of talking and not a whole lot of doing. When you get to right-wing circles, they'll be killing each other all over just incoherent nonsense, but they're at least trending towards a certain goal.
Right.
They're not going to sit there and have 15 debates. As irrational and as emotional as they are, they move towards something. That's why we got Trump in office. The man is led by retarded people that don't have any sense of what goes on in the world. Right. They say, "Oh, we're going to tariff everybody and make them buy our products." They're going to tariff India and China. That's 40% of the fucking planet. How are you going to tell me you're going to tariff 40% of the planet and make them buy something from you by making your product more expensive?
Right.
They don't think. I don't know shit about international politics as far as like the numbers go for trade, but I can tell you, if you try to tariff 40% of the planet, you can't vote for a man that's going to say that and expect to be surprised when you go broke.
Right. Like the farmers are now struggling and suffering based on marching in lockstep to their cult leader.
I tell you, because all they care about is themselves. They could go broke, be dying, and they'll still vote the same way. It's just they're in a cult. There's no rhyme or reason behind it.
Yeah.
When you get to left-wing circles, you're gonna have endless debates about facts, statistics, and how to implement them. That takes longer. You know what I'm saying? Actual intellectual discussion. Somebody calling you, Melissa.
All right, let me end this.